I'd like to welcome Mr. Sanjay Chalke, the COO at Capgemini India, Executive Vice President and member of the India Country Board. Mr. Chalke leads growth for talent supply chain and future talent programs. He enhances operational efficiencies, spearheads transformation initiatives, and builds delivery capabilities through quality assurance, cybersecurity, and business continuity. So, Mr. Chalke, welcome to the stage. I request you to kindly share your unique perspective on how we can prepare for the future of work.
I guess she introduced herself as the comedian, but then she also makes sure that she gives enough stress to me by calling power pack and all the other things. But I think I take that as a compliment. First of all, of course, good morning and thanks for having me. I reviewed, just this morning the agenda for yesterday, and I wanted to thank all the organizers, specifically, of course, the sponsors and all others. I think that was an power-packed agenda, I should say, which was really stimulating to the issues what we see today in the marketplace or in the workforce. Definitely very, very impressive is what I thought. Of course, today's agenda also is. So with that, I just wanted to start by saying that, especially with this topic, of course, I think we are all in a very interesting era. Previously, when you used to talk about era used to be, 10 years, 5 years. Now the time frame of era, especially with the workforce evolvement, I would say, had come down to months. Especially because of course, two things. One is, you can say, the technological advancement or disruption, both. Whether it is AI, data, cloud. And second is, of course, about the demography, especially India. Talking about technology, and I think you all know that it's not just related to an information technology industry. Today, I think the technology spreads across every industry, every company rather, every organization is a technology company. And what you also see that it has spread across sectorial divides rather. Whether it is greener technology, whether it is health technology, whether it is technology in agriculture, today technology is present everywhere rather. And talking about demography now, of course, we all know that more than 50% of our population, or more than 50% of our population is a working population. And this population is pretty much divided. We never spoke about tier 1, tier 2. We were very limited to talking about only rural and urban before. Today, we talk about this population as, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. So we see a lot of that divide. We see a lot of this demography now also changed. And when I say changed, we also see almost 50% of the workforce is basically divided between men and women. But we also see the challenges in this workforce about how much are basically functional in this divide. And that's the reason I think there are 4 things which I wanted to call out today. As we prepare for the future workforce, as we prepare for the new technology advancement, as we prepare for the new demography, and I would say not new demography, but as we see the evolving demography, what is getting evolved in India, there's definitely few, I would say, ask and action for all of us. First, of course, is to the government and the policymakers. A lot of our education is still pretty much academic, which definitely needs to shift to more practical application, not just in technology, but also in domain and functional knowledge. And we all know that our syllabus, if you really go even to a tier 1 college today, is pretty much, when we hire, and, as you know, Capgemini, I think every year we hire almost about 15,000 people, especially from these colleges. At the digital academy side, we train 10,000 people. And what we see that the education at the ground level itself is very, very insufficient. And that's where I want to call out the government and the policymakers to really take a hard look on what syllabus, what education, and again, it's across the sector. What is the new workforce we are creating? At least today, if you ask me, there's definitely, I would say only 10 to 15% of this workforce can be really usable right from day one. 85 to 90% definitely needs the training. So I think that's the first task as we evolve. The other two, of course, is to the corporate. First is the skilling and reskilling. And again, I'm not saying to the corporates which are in information technology industry, but the corporate across, I would say. I think there is utmost important that we give importance to the knowledge of AI, whether it's data, whether it's technology, whether it's robotics, anything. I just do not want to just typically call the three-letter words of AI, automation, and cloud or something like that. I think technology transcends into so many different forms. And that's where it is, I think it's very important that the corporates definitely need to take the initiative in order to see that we create the workforce of future. Today, as I said, the era is where the new now and next of technology. There was a time when the now was, of course, the new was about 6 months to 1 year, and the next used to be 5 years, and we used to define it new now, that's how now new and next we used to define. Today, the gap between the now, new, and next is hardly months, as I said. I know we have a representative from Microsoft, they will tell you that the next becomes new in 6 months and the new is already now. That's where I think it's very important for the corporates to really adopt some of these things very fast. Skilling and reskilling need not be only statistically proven that how many people have been trained, etc., but absolutely on the ground we seeing these people actually fast forwarding and future proofing. And that needs to happen again across the sector, across the industry. Second, again, to the corporates is on inclusive workforce. I think it's very important that the workforce cannot be, first of all, let me tell you, we ourselves cannot just afford a workforce only coming from tier 1. And I think it's very important that it needs to be inclusive in terms of, it's not just the rural divide, it's not just the tier 1, T2, T3 divide, but across closing the gender gaps also. I think we definitely see a lot of those, and I can give you one example. We go to the engineering colleges, and we see within India itself, if you go to the south, we find diversity around 20-25%. If you go to north, that drops down to 12%. If you are in west somewhere, it is between 15 to 16%. And when we want to make at least a 50-50 workforce, where do we manage this? So we have a big challenge in the workforce of actually making it inclusive, and how do we make it inclusive? We also have a challenge when I say, again, it's a part of the reskilling, is while we want to go to tier 2, tier 3, we still see, again, it's not only the technology which will help, a lot of soft skilling, simple things like English language and others. I think we need a next workforce should be not about only technology, not about only knowing the languages or transcending the languages, but we need the next workforce to be very assertive if you want to make it a global workforce. We want them to be a confident workforce. And when we go even to the tier 2, and when I'm saying tier 2, I'm saying, cities like Bhopal and others, I'm not even still talking about rural. Okay, we still see almost 80-85% lack confidence and assertiveness. It's the same story in tier one also. Also, I do not want to really make it, but again, saying that's where I think we'll all have to work. And of course, the corporates are working, but I know there are a lot of educationists here, a lot of skilling organization here, and that's where I would come. The fourth part of it is that the skilling organization need to definitely take an interest. Of course, your reforms or your channels needs to be, of course, they need to be omni-channel, but they also need to be in various languages. They need to be in native languages. They should be able to really go to the macro level of how the economy functions. It cannot be just technology or just about the AI and data, what we say, because at the rural side, the industries are different. They can be more agriculture, they could be more infrastructure, they can be auto ancillaries. So I think what you are skilling needs to go to that level of, a depth of, I would say, where it could help, that workforce to really get started from day one. So I think all these four definitely are important. As I said, first, the government and the policymakers. Other two actions are with, as I said, corporate, more on skilling and reskilling, and second is on more inclusive workforce, and third, the fourth is more with the skilling organization to make it more comprehensive, more detailed, and not, because that's where we also struggle. A lot of, these training institutes or training organization we work with, and we definitely ask them to be very more detailed oriented so that it helps the workforce when they come and they're ready to start on day zero, day one. At the closing, I think three things which I would say. What we want to create as the new workforce is what we want to create is a resilient workforce who is ready, as I said, to transcend through any sectors. We do not want a workforce which get locked into just one sector. Because as you know, as the economy will evolve, the Indian economy definitely will evolve. And you will see that different sectors will get eminence on different times. And that's where we will need a workforce which is eminent, who is ready to upskill or train themselves as the industry change. So definitely a resilient workforce. Second important point, I think I said, is a workforce which is where we do not qualify them in terms of tier one, tier two. I hope we go to that time where we stopped calling into tier one, tier two, rural, urban, where we have one workforce, irrespective of where they come, the maturity is more or less same. So I think that's where we will need to move. And third important point, I know the PM has opened an internship program that is again getting people start working while they are in the colleges, and that's what, when I said practical application, whether in technology or whether in domain or any functional skill. But I think we as in India, if want to become a global workforce, just like China, for example, if you compare India with China, whether it's manufacturing, whether it is technology, or whether it is auto, you can name it. You can call a Chinese workforce a global workforce. Of course, they are also centered around cities and others. But we definitely need to all now work towards making a global workforce where India is kind of counted not only for technology, right? Because today the world looks at us from a technology, more from a technology. That's where you see a lot of these hyperscalers, a lot of the MNCs who have started shops over here. But I think if we need to be, in a true sense, a global workforce, I think we need to prepare ourselves in all what we just discussed. With that, again, thank you and wish you to have a great conference a day ahead. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chalke. We appreciate you taking time from your busy schedule and being with us. May I please call on Dr. Reddy to felicitate Mr. Chalke? A big round of applause for Mr. Chalke and Dr. Reddy, please. It was great hearing you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Reddy.